an event, which shows their activeness to the relevant issue and their availability to cooperate, to share challenges, and to give positive examples from during the pandemic and how they are tackling it. May I start off by introducing our guests who are joining us today and who will be sharing their experiences. From Thessaloniki, which was the European Youth Capital of 2014, we have Babis from the Youth Department, the Greek Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs. From Novi Sad, which was the European Youth Capital in 2019, we have Volsav, coordinator of the Novi Sad Volunteering Center. From Amiens, which is the current European Youth Capital, we have Saline, who is the project manager for Amiens for Youth. From Klaipeda, which is the European Youth Capital of next year, 2021, we have Davidas, who is a municipality advisor for the European Youth Capital 2021. And from Tirana, which is the European Youth Capital 2022, we have Angela, who is from the municipality of Tirana, and Clyde, who is from the National Youth Congress of Albania. So to start off this event, some general comments about it. The event is being recorded, so you are aware that this is the case. And as we said, it's being transmitted both live, both via Click Meeting and the European Youth Forum's Facebook page. So this I will be reminding you during several parts of today's events. You can ask questions, you can post comments, so questions in the Q&A if you are using Click Meeting, and questions via comments on the live stream of the Facebook Live. If you want to ask questions to any participant from the discussion, so any participant from the 5 cities, these questions will be collected and will be asked at the end. So you can ask questions at any time of the event. However, we will be asking them at the end. So if you ask question now and we do not ask it for the foreseeable future, do not think that we forgot about you, but we are just keeping it for the right time, which is the Q&A at the end. So after the introduction of what's going on here, I was told that the first item of today's agenda is for me to give you some examples of what youth organizations are doing in the face of the pandemic. So cities are the first to see the impacts of COVID-19, of course, on their citizens. Therefore, the response has to be immediate, but also its difficulties are bigger. However, youth organizations are equally active in reacting to the crisis, being among the first responders to the crisis, both in helping the most vulnerable categories and in supporting young people in unprecedented context. Even after the COVID-19 health crisis, youth organizations will be amongst the main actors in their local communities, engaged in addressing the impact on young people. Youth organizations have adapted to the current challenges and changing the way we operate. As youth organizations, we have reorganized our engagement and moved digitally, and so led solidarity actions in the local communities. Many organizations are engaging young people through digital tools, webinars, and online outreach. We have seen that youth organizations are facing several difficulties during this period. Difficulties include those hosting volunteers and trainees in this period, and have been struggling and adapted to the framework of learning of young people. Many times, these organizations are still trying to involve selected participants in the work and life of the organizations through digital means. But that is not always possible, and let's be honest, digital experience and digital engagement will never be able to replace the physical experience. In addition to the current crisis, imposed strong limitations to the right to protest and freedom of assembly, which are having negative impact on the work of civil society, and increasingly shrinking space for youth organizations in Europe, which limits their capacity to advocate for young people, with potentially negative impact on the full access to youth rights. Democracy, human rights, and the rule of law cannot be put under quarantine with the excuse of a pandemic. Several NGOs, particularly those who are responsible for exchanges, are among those most severely affected. Due to the lack of funding, several of these organizations will have their local and national members who might be closing down unless external aid is actually coming. With the hashtag Separated but United campaign, the European Youth Forum is showcasing the initiatives youth organizations and young people are taking in Europe and beyond during this time. As young people, as youth organizations, we have done several activities. We have reached out to the most vulnerable and supported them through this crisis. Some practical examples of this is, for example, the Erasmus Student Network, ESN, has released a motivational video to reassure international students in these difficult times. And you can watch this video, for example, on their Facebook and YouTube. Many national Scouts organizations have taken concrete steps to organize community support and offer help to vulnerable people. The big six organizations, so YMCA, YWCA, WASM, WECT, IFRC, the Duke and the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award, put together 6 toolkits to support local communities during the pandemic. The National Youth Council of Austria collected useful information concerning COVID-19 and how to access various support services, and made it available online. The British Youth Council is part of the Youth Work Support Initiative, developed to provide a single platform of youth workers and those working with young people to access information, advice, guidance, support, and tools. A massive collaboration effort supports the youth sector to meet challenges young people will be facing over the coming weeks and months due to COVID-19. As youth organizations, we organize several online activities and webinars to foster engagement and activism. Several examples of this, for example, Youth for Exchange and Understanding organized a webinar titled Digital Tools we love to use or don't love to use to familiarize young people and organizations with different online digital tools to be used for youth work. The National Youth Council of Ireland, for example, organized Solidarity Conversations, a series of training sessions to discuss COVID-19 and what it means for youth work and to provide a space for youth participation and youth workers to share, question, reflect, and connect online. As a youth forum, and many of our member organizations engage with online activities and panel discussions in the context of the European Youth Event. From the youth participation to youth work, from mobility to youth and women's rights, youth organizations have led the discussion and actions of many key issues in uncertain times. As youth organizations, we also did research on the impact of COVID-19 on youths and human rights. ASM, for example, published a research report on the impact of COVID-19 on student exchanges in Europe. ESU, the European Students' Union, published a thorough review of human rights violations during the COVID-19 pandemic. As the European Youth Forum, we also joined forces with Global Initiative on Decent Jobs for Youth, the International Labour Organization's ILO, the UN Human Rights Office, UN Major Group on Children and Youth, ICE and ISEC to develop a survey aimed at assessing the impact of COVID-19 on youth rights, bringing youth voices to the forefront of action and responses. Specifically, as a youth forum, yesterday we published our European Blueprint for European Recovery, which focused on 3 pillars, which we believe that recovery should be built on. The first being social and economic inclusion, so preventing the lockdown generation, human rights, civic space, and participation, maintaining, strengthening our democracy. The third one being beyond recovery, sustainable alternatives to build back better. In each of these, we proposed 3 types of solutions, 3 types of proposals. We propose, firstly, a short-term response to help those who are in instant help, a medium-term recovery to make sure that as a planet and as a generation we recover from the crisis, and a long-term change, because it is not good enough to go back to what was normal last February. So we are proposing on how we need to change to move forward. And I encourage you all to read our European Youth Blueprint to Recovery, which you can find on our website or our social media. So I think I've spoken enough. So now we will go to the next part of the event, where we'll be giving space for the youth capitals to present how their cities react to the emergencies and how they supported young people, the main challenges they face, and the role of youth organizations in all of this. So now we will have the 5 cities who will be discussing this for 10 minutes. However, I will be also asking them some questions which I asked them to make sure to answer during their intervention. So if we could start from Thessaloniki, which was the European Youth Capital of 2014. Babis, if you could please, apart from giving the general intervention on the topic as explained, maybe you can answer the following questions. Which were the biggest short-term challenges which the city has faced because of the COVID situation, and what was the reaction of young people? And did the governance structure put in place in 2014 because of Youth Capital title help to get city actors to work together to face this crisis? And if yes, how?
Yes. Hello, Michael. Hello to all the friends and colleagues. I'm really happy to attend and to participate this event organized by the European Youth Forum. Thessaloniki was European Youth Capital back on 2014. 2014. That means 6 years ago. The interesting thing about the city of Thessaloniki is that the title left a very active civil society, and the legacy of the European Youth Capital is still alive in the city level. Thousands of volunteers participate in the activities. A lot of interesting and beautiful youth projects survive even now. And the youth ecosystem in a city level is more active than it was some years ago. I can say that just in order to give you the full picture of the city, I must say that from 2014 and just after the closing of the European Youth Capital, we have in Greece and of course in Thessaloniki the booming of the refugee crisis. So the years 2015, 16, 17, it was the period with the top, let's say, numbers of refugees, and the city of Thessaloniki played a very active role, welcoming, hosting, and supporting and the refugees. And I can say that because of the previous very good experience and cooperation in between the municipality of Thessaloniki, the youth department, the youth secretariat at that time of the government, and the civil society, the reaction of the civil society youth organizations, and of course not only the youth organizations, for the very hot topic at that time of the refugee management was really a good practice. So slowly going to our period and the period of the COVID-19, when everything starts here in Thessaloniki around January, let's say, around before, just after the Christmas period, the first reaction was, let's say, not so hard, having in mind that the first person who the first person in Greece with the virus was in the city of Thessaloniki, and was a person who works in the municipality of Thessaloniki. That means that the very first person was, let's say, in the center of publicity and whatever. Was a person from the municipality, and it was the whole municipality blocked and in quarantine for a period of 2 weeks until the situation clarified. So these very first moments of the COVID, and of course the announcements of the European Commission about the future of the youth programs, the Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps, the national announcements about the social distancing and the protection systems and all the things, have practically 3 results. The 3 results was, first of all, that all the active youth events and plans was cancelled. Everything was cancelled in a national and of course in a local level. I don't know if you hear me well, because I can hear as a background also the video. And this is a video from the period of the European Youth Capital with the young people around the city. Okay, so it was a shock. The most of the Erasmus Student Network students in the University of Thessaloniki left. The university closed. The civil society organization unfortunately stopped whatever they plan, and there was no youth activities, I can say, until May. It was not easy. It was even difficult and problematic for some of the organizations that already pay for actions, activities, and other one moment, it says something here. Yes, accept. And other initiatives in a city level. I can say that, of course, the volunteer networks stop, and the most I can say that the most problematic thing was some major events that it was organized for the period of May, June, July. It was some very, very big events linked with international obligations, or the Greek chairmanship in the Council of Europe, or other international or national activities or local activities. So practically, the youth civil society stops the activities. The good thing is that very, very quickly the municipality, the foundations, the government, they managed to create electronic platforms. So for instance, the training activities for civil society actors, that it's a round of seminars organized by a private foundation, Bodosaki Foundation, the municipality of Thessaloniki, and the youth department of the ministry, transform in zero time into a web-based training, and continues even now like that. I can say also that one interesting thing, and let's say the first open event organized in a city level was 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, yes, because of the International Environmental Day. A lot of volunteers, a lot of NGOs, youth networks, with the support of the municipality, make the first open event, of course, with all the protection and social distancing measures, and with a lot of media attention and a lot of young participants. So I can say, as concluding, let's say this, that the city is returning back, the youth sector is returning back to the normality, of course, using mainly youth web-based tools. Slowly some face-to-face and real meetings are taking place. The most of the people that they are active in the civil society organizations are working from home. The most of the offices and of the civil society youth organizations are closed. And this is a new reality for the section in the city of Thessaloniki. This is a new topic, how to manage and how to survive, let's say, in these new conditions. But I believe also with the support of some initiatives coming from the from the programs of the European Commission, like Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps, but also national level initiatives. The next period will be more, let's say, positive, and we will manage in the next 1 month to return slowly to the normality of the civil society in local level.
So was that all, Babis, or are you still?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much, Babis, for explaining us the situation and the experience of Thessaloniki. Just a clarification from what I said before. I mentioned that sorry, let me put on my camera first. So sorry for that. So before I said that we are live both on Meeting and Facebook Live, apparently we are facing some technical difficulties. So right now we are just on Click Meeting. However, the event will be shared later on on our Facebook page, so it will be on Facebook later on today. Just as a reminder to all participants, you need to put on your camera when you speak, so also participants are able to see you. And also, sorry very much for the video situation. I am told the video will be played later on, because on YouTube, when they will put on a video on YouTube, we cannot use this during the same time, so it will be competing with the speaker if we put it at the time. So moving forward, we now pass on to our second European Youth Capital, which we have today, Novi Sad, which was the Youth Capital in 2019. So, Vaidislav, if you could now put on your camera and mic, please. And apart from tackling the big topic which we are discussing today, if you could also include in your reply, which were the biggest short-term challenges which Novi Sad as a city has faced because of the COVID situation, and what was the reaction from young citizens? And did the fact that you were a European Youth Capital help in your response and being able to adapt to focus on the emergency? And I know that in Novi Sad you have a culture of a lot of youth volunteers. Do you think that this will contribute and help in overcoming the situation we are facing now?
Yes, hello, Michael, can you hear me?
You can be heard.
Okay, thank you for invitation to be a presenter for today's meeting. Let me just present Novi Sad Voluntary Service, which is a mutual program between two capitals. As maybe you know that Novi Sad had in 2019 European Youth Capital and 2021 European Capital of Culture. So in 2017 we started the big program called Novi Sad Voluntary Service, with idea to create systematic approach to volunteering in Novi Sad, to give support to local institutions and organizations in creating voluntary management, to learn them and to share with them how to organize and how to work with volunteers, to organize meetings with partners, to involve new institutions and new volunteers in volunteer adventure. Since 2017, it was the start of good investment, let's say it in terminology of economical terminology, until today, until COVID actually, until March this year. We had more than 160 activities dedicated to sport in 5 sectors: sport, culture, youth, ecology, and social care. All the lessons that we learned in those activities, we somehow implemented in this COVID crisis. All the partnership that we created was had good response to the need of city of Novi Sad and general COVID crisis. I cannot say that Novi Sad had different issues and different problems like any other city in the world. I think that we had general mutual problems with blockage, with economy, with problem of moving and trafficking people. But in 15th of March, it was declared the state of emergency. 2 days after, on 17th March, we had really short, actually we had a really fast response on this crisis. And on 17th March, 2 days after that, we held a huge meeting with youth organizations and institutions in Novi Sad. So we had 15 of them that were already our partners in previous volunteer activities. We wanted to create a systematic approach in this crisis, in this new problem that Novi Sad had, and we wanted to create one synchronization in volunteer management during the COVID crisis. We had on that meeting, we agreed to create some sort of database of what kind of resources does any organization have, and that can be provided and be support to the efforts of City of Novi Sad to have as much damaged as possible during. Thank you. Olga is here close to me. She helps me when I don't have a word. Thank you, Olga. Just in one day, we had a new database of volunteers with more than 400 new persons wanted to give some kind of support. In that moment, we didn't know what are we going to do or how are we going to be volunteers on the field. But so we connected with the City Crisis Center and Red Cross, which was the primary organization in work with volunteers during the COVID time. In few days, we were support in buying the goods, food, medicaments for elderly people because they were not allowed to go outside of their houses, probably like in other countries and other cities. So we were support to Red Cross. And after that, there was a creation of temporary COVID hospital in our Novi Sad fair. So just in 10 days, with altogether with military and City Crisis Center and Red Cross, we created. We were support actually. Volunteers were huge support to create a temporary COVID hospital. We had even several more activities. For example, one of the measures of City of Novi Sad was to create the packages for the retired people, for pensioners. So volunteers created 32,000, they packed 32,000 packages, boxes of help consisted of rice, oil, and other basic stuff. And that was also the long-term activity. I can say that during the COVID time, we had much more activities rather than in peaceful time. You can see this picture, maybe to share with you, that we really thought when we started to work with volunteers in this period, we were thinking about the safety and security. Even now, we don't know exactly what is corona and how is it transferred, but even now we are having the masks. In that period, it was much more important to have the masks and to have the overalls and to have everything that is necessary for every volunteer to be safe and safe. That is actually one of the prime principles in working with volunteers in Novi Sad. First, every time we first speak about safety and security, about the numbers of the police, of the firehouse, and then about the volunteering and the values and activities through volunteering. So we were really cautious in that period. And during this 1.5 months or 2 months, we had more than 500 volunteers involved. We were counting and we had more than 3,000 volunteer hours in that 1.5 months, which is almost like 6 months during the regular peaceful period. So that is just a statistical approach and statistical representation of how the volunteers were involved. I believe that working on Novi Sad voluntary service as one systematic center for volunteers with all the partners that we give good support to our city of Novi Sad. And I believe that somehow other from those 5 sectors that we're working right now, this is the new sector that we are going to work, and we are thinking about ideas how to connect in the peaceful period with the police, with the military, and how to work with them, how to connect and how to make the network or partnership just to be safe in any other possible extraordinary situation in our city. Not only in our city, this idea is also to be spread in all of our country and to share that with all the organizations in Serbia. But now the COVID vanredno stanje, emergency state stopped, and right now we are going back on the other cultural activities that are dedicated to youth. And volunteers, new volunteers that were involved in this COVID period were now coming back to be part of other activities, not only in emergency state, but to be volunteers in peaceful time. Somehow I believe that investing in such kind of service, which is Novi Sad voluntary service, gave back the good results in organizing volunteers during the COVID period. And I believe that next years and next activities will bring much more volunteers, because we show that volunteer management that is practiced during peaceful period can be involved and can be used in emergency state, and which is maybe emergency state has different, somehow we saw that it has different motivation, which is totally normal. And right now we're going back to the peaceful period, and I believe that the process will go on. And we are inviting all the partners from other capitals of youth to share the experience, and maybe to make some kind of network of similar services or similar volunteer centers. I believe that we can learn much more from each other. If there is any questions, I believe, Michael, that you said it's going to be later, yeah?
So questions will be at the end. Of course, if anyone has any questions, please do not hesitate to write them down as comments here. However, the questions will be taken as a Q&A at the last part of the event. So if you are, was that your intervention? Are you done?
Yes, that's for now for me. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Vaislav, for explaining to us the story of the volunteering center and Novi Sad as a youth capital in general. We will now move on to the next capital which we have with us today, Amiens. Amiens is the current European Youth Capital, so the Youth Capital for 2020. So, Celine, I know that the fact that the pandemic has occurred during the year that you are as a European Youth Capital has heavily affected the plans which you had in mind for this year, of course. So my questions are, how has the pandemic affected you as the current Youth Capital? How did you adapt? And which activities did the municipality implement in relation to youths during this time? Do you think that the Youth Capital will change in the world post-COVID-19 as a consequence of the virus? And if yes, how?
Hello, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, this year was the year of Amiens to be European Youth Capital, and sadly there is a pandemic. So we adapted to the emergency of the situation. We keep the action on the local level, but we postpone all our events. For the moment, until October. We don't know after. So we decide to implement some action in the case of emergency. We put in place, we implemented psychological support online, because we have a lot of young people who were we have bad experiences to be alone, because they are far from their family, they are students or not, but they live alone, and they was very stressed. So we opened a psychological support online. We made the same thing about homework school, because with the lockdown, a lot of young people, even the National Education of France, keep on the homeworks. Some of them need support because parents couldn't help their children. We also create a support with first necessity and distribution of food voucher with the Youth Council of Amiens, and we make some donation to youth organizations who help students and young people. Because we were very aware that a lot of young people are in big precarity. And we support them also in administration draft, because it was a time about fill a lot of draft to have money to go to the university, for their home and so on. So we implemented an help for this kind of thing with administration. And about Amiens after the COVID, we need to continue the support we implemented during the quarantine, because the crisis is not finished, so we continue. And about the title itself, we postponed all the big events in 2021. We signed an agreement between the Mayor of Amiens and the European Youth Forum. So we will implement all the big events for the next year. And just now we implement all the summer activities outdoor, because with the lockdown we want to be outside. So we adapt our summer activities about our environment, and about adapting to the budget to the young people. All is free for them, but the activities are about environment, with visit of Ortillonnage or Baie de Somme with a velo trip. We adapted activities, how to cook with a small budget, but with good products from local farmers. And this kind of thing. It was very important for us. We have a lot of activity for the summer, and we will continue to support them during this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Celine, for your explanation of how the current European Youth Capital is actually dealing with the whole COVID situation and what would be the plans now moving forward. So now we'll be moving on to the next youth capital we have with us today, which is Klaipeda, who will be the next European Youth Capital in 2021. Davidas, if you may, so as you are in the midst of the program preparation for the European Youth Capital in 2021, how did the pandemic affect your planning to assume the title of the European Youth Capital, and how is the municipality ensuring to continue involving young people in the planning, even during pandemic and during the lockdown in the past couple of months? And what is the impact of the lockdown on young people in your city, and how do they respond to online activities, etc., and the sort?
So greetings to everyone from beautiful and sunny Klaipeda. So first of all, I should mention that today I think I hear something. So first of all, I would like to mention that today is the second day that the quarantine is officially cancelled and officially over. So just imagine the situation in our country and our city. I have some statistics. So till this day, we had nearly 1,800 cases in Lithuania and about 280 coronavirus cases in Klaipeda. So Klaipeda has a seaport. So the biggest challenge for municipality was to control hundreds of people who were coming back to our country, and it was quite a challenging thing to do. As you already know, our city becomes a European Youth Capital in the year 2021, and our preparation is in the middle of the process. So the coronavirus, of course, a little bit affected the progress of the project. The timing and the dates of the European Youth Forum's monitoring, physical meetings, presentations, and visits to international partners had to be postponed or adjusted for online area. However, the quarantine period was successfully used for targeted remote meetings, team workshops, preparation and implementation of publicity and dissemination plans. And also a good time for searching national and international partners and the coordination of joint plans, joining international projects, looking for sponsors, reducing the financial burden on the municipality, and of course ensuring that the planned project implementation would be held. So the first half of the year 2020 is dedicated to the European Youth Capitals partnerships, meetings, consultations, preparations of necessary documents, and of course bureaucratic procedures, searching for external funding and support, introduction to the city community, and target youth groups through various channels of communication. In response to the pandemic situation, travel opportunities were strictly limited, so the coordination team and platform coordinators postponed most of the 2020 activities to the third and fourth quarters of the year, and they prepare for implementation. They are preparing youth involvement. They are talking about youth involvement of local partners, and so on. And all activities that were possible to help to make online, they were held online. Such activities as consultations, studies, meetings, discussions, and etc. Talking about the impact of the lockdown, the impact probably was similar to most of the cities and countries. Young people, just like elder ones, had to stay safe and had to stay home. And it's not so easy when you are 15 or 20-year-old young person. So we had a couple of small protests against the quarantine, but you know, Lithuanians are quite calm and patient people, so our city didn't have many bigger problems about that. Our education system adapted to crisis and provided our school children with online studies. Even physical education, for example, was possible. Children had to film how they exercise and send those videos for teachers. Talking about youth after school and after studies activities, the main problem was that youth organizations didn't have a chance to accomplish their activities. But at this point, our municipality had a plan for controlling corona crisis and made a decision that money for youth projects cannot be cut and all activities can be moved to the second half of the year. What's more, many young people became a part of national volunteering movement, which provided help for elder and disabled people. Also, some young businesses quickly adjusted their activities and started producing protection measures for doctors, for social workers, and different social institutions. What's more, our Connecting Youth Organization Roundtable kept providing consultations and other help for young people and other young NGOs. Also, a great example that I would like to share with you is Klaipeda University Erasmus Network initiative, when they held many activities to Erasmus students who were not able to come back to their home countries. They were chatting, they were playing online games, and they helped them to communicate between the university and themselves. So many activities were held during the quarantine, you know, but as I said in the beginning, we are happy that step by step we are coming back to normal lives, and I really hope so we won't have another wave of that coronavirus, and we will be able to come back to our normal lives. So that's it for now, and we will discuss a little bit later.
So thank you very much for the explanation on how Klaipeda is actually preparing to assume the title of the European Youth Capital. So now we'll move on to the last, but definitely not the least, of the European Youth Capitals which we have with us today, Tirana, which will be the European Youth Capital in 2022. And with us we have Angela and Clyde from Tirana. So if one of you, or maybe both of you, you decide how you can divide the time between you, maybe explain to us, apart from the general intervention, what's the biggest change that the city has witnessed in relation to young people because of the start of the pandemic? So since the start of COVID, and how there was any change, what if any? And the pandemic has truly affected the way you are preparing for the title. How will you live up to the preparing of being the European Youth Capital in such unpredictable time where we do not know how things will be evolving? Okay, I think you might be experiencing some technical difficulties. Maybe we could try by you switching your camera off and just using the sound, and maybe we'll be able to hear you. Okay, we seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties with connecting to Tirana. So maybe I can suggest, I know there was a video before from Thessaloniki, I think we did not manage to see. Would it be possible, and this is a question for our technical team, would it be possible maybe to put that on now, and then afterwards attempt again to have the intervention from our friends from Tirana? And I am being told it is possible, and that we will be seeing now the video from Thessaloniki from beforehand, from before.
Hey boy, how you feeling today?
Me good, man. Me good. Funny people in the happy town, growing high and spread a low sound, breaking the circles around their necks. So if you look at them, you're getting out the stress. Magic moment.
So, we're seeing the videos from Thessaloniki. In the meantime, while we're experiencing some technical problems, I see now that our colleagues from Tirana have joined us again. Did you hear me before asking the questions, or do you want to ask them again?
We just had some technical difficulties and we had to change the laptop. So
We didn't hear the questions.
yeah.
All right. So just for everyone to also be to refresh everyone's mind, apart from your general sharing of the experience of Tirana in preparing for to be the lead capital, I would want to maybe explain a bit more also what is the biggest change that you have witnessed in the city in relation to young people since the start of the COVID situation. And of course, the pandemic has definitely affected you in the way you are preparing to assume the title of European Youth Capital. How do you think that you can live up to prepare to receive such title in such unpredictable times where we are not sure what will happen next?
Do you want me to continue? Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for organizing and inviting us to this event. We do realize that it was this whole situation that has happened throughout the world was not an unexpected one, also to the municipality of Tirana and to our youngsters. Even though the youngsters in general are less affected by the pandemic health-wise, they will shoulder a significant share of the economic and social repercussions. And the future economic prospects are not always optimistic. This is why we've realized that we should build an inclusive recovery through a more youth-sensitive programs throughout the municipality and throughout the city. And this COVID-19 crisis has demonstrated the crucial role of young people and youth-led organizations in crisis response, recovery, and building resilience situation programs to deal with those issues. And this is also why we as an organization at the National Youth Congress were not prepared at the beginning for this situation, as the majority of our activities have to be dealt in person and our seminars and trainings. But we moved quickly to a digitalized ways of dealing with those seminars and trainings. We held many of them in online platforms and shared those through means of social networks and promotions. There were difficulties and hardships in the beginning of trying to coordinate everyone to be part of those meetings and of those seminars and trainings that we have as our daily job. And it is also difficult for some marginalized groups who do not always have access on those online platforms and on internet connections. But we got through with it with mobilizing youngsters from different organizations to try to help the community and those who cannot participate in meetings or in online learning platforms. So we had those platforms of online meetings not only in Tirana but in the 12 main municipalities of Albania, and we see the national the youth organizations as a habitat of work for young professionalists, and we've had these economic packages of paying to the community and to the people who have not been able to go to work, but it has not been dealt with the issues of the NGOs. This is why we've also worked together to write a petition to the governance as youth organizations to work together to this to get those things needed to the community. And also the youth organizations have been able to work together to provide help to the community. We've also worked with donors and with programs such as Women, Peace and Security to provide help and to provide sanitary products to different offices and communities that need them. So in order for them not to be infected by the virus and to also stop the infectious rates. We've also talked a lot about the educational system and worked with the institutions to provide help with the needs of providing these online learning platforms to the students. And when it comes to Tirana as the youth capital of 2022, we've done our best to be in touch with the colleagues from the other cities to learn about their ways and also to learn about the program and how we can act in this pandemic time, since we do not really know how the future is going to go, and to prepare more for a future where we will have to hold probably a good number of the events online, and also we're trying to find ways of how to hold them in the community by sharing the distance. This is also always to keep in mind of how the future is going to go in terms of the virus. We've also had active social media platforms to promote the program and the talks that we've been holding about the events that are going to be happening in 2022 and how to prepare the city and the country in general to provide more for youngsters and to be ready for what's coming next, to have a positive impact in the community and a positive future in general. And we've also had a lot of coordinated talks with the work group of this program since the beginning, and also we've had those talks right now to provide these things that are going to be needed in the future for the program. So we've been trying to find ways and to make programs for the Tirana Youth Capital for 2022 in order to prepare for the future that is necessary. And also in terms of the municipality.
Yeah. Thank you very much. From the municipality, I could say that we've been, first of all, very happy with all the activism and all the youth volunteers that have been a really good partner for us as a municipality. We've been surprised for good in this case during this lockdown. Some of the main things that we're happy to have these youngsters that we have in Tirana have been, first of all, we have lots of volunteers, and during this pandemic, they have been there for us, for the community, and they have been partners in one of our initiatives, helping one of our initiatives called Adopt a Grandparent, and they've helped to go at each elderly person in the neighborhood and help them with everything they might need so they don't go out and they don't risk to get the coronavirus. Other than this initiative, youngsters in Tirana have been organizing themselves with many initiatives to go out and cycle together. And us as a municipality, we've ensured that they're safe in these initiatives. And we have, during this pandemic, we have made sure that more bike lanes have been paved, because there are more people now, and mainly youngsters, that are using bikes in the city. We can see the numbers that have been mostly almost duplicated for the bike users in the city. And other than that, we've seen that nowadays youngsters have been more active, and now they're raising their voices for issues that really concern to them, protesting about human rights, student rights, because some of the students were affected by the fact that they couldn't go to school, but they still had to go through the maturity exams during the last days, but always making sure that we keep social distancing and everybody's sure, even during these events, always outdoor events. One last thing that maybe I'd like to add, to not take more time for all the other presenters, would be the fact that us as a municipality have made sure that all youngsters in the city have the spaces and can use the public spaces for all the activities that they want, making sure, first of all, that they're safe, and second of all, that they don't feel like they've been abandoned from the municipality or from the government, and that they can do whatever they want to do, and they can socialize with each other without like staying in a closed space where everybody can risk their life and can risk to take the coronavirus. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your explanation, very in-depth explanation actually on how the pandemic is affecting U.S. Tirana's preparation and of young people for the European Youth Capital title. Now we will be moving on to the next part of today's event, which is a roundtable to discuss opportunities, joint initiatives by municipalities and youth organizations and lessons learned from the pandemic. Before we actually go on to this part of the discussion, I would like to remind everyone that if you have any questions for any of the participants who have presented anything during today's event, please do write them down in the comment section, and we will have afterwards some time to be able to, for the participants, the presenters to answer those questions which you might have. So please do not leave it to the last minute, but if you have any questions, please do write them down now on the Q&A function on Click Meeting, and we will be able to ask to the participant, to the presenters, those questions after the roundtable discussion. So the first question which I have for now, these questions are for all the presenters, so feel free to jump in. Again, I remind you as presenters that when not speaking, please do turn off your camera and mic, because we can only have the maximum of 4 presenters with their mics and cameras on at the same time. So for everyone to be able to have the possibility to jump in and give their answer when they want to, I would like to remind all the presenters to only put on your mic and camera when you are actually answering these questions. So the first generic question for the 5 of you is, so the ILO, which is the International Labour Organization, has stated that young people will be disproportionately affected by the labor crisis, which is now coming out after the health crisis. This view is also shared by the EU Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, Commissioner Schmidt. And I know that some of you might have already briefly went into this during their intervention, but which policy initiatives will be put in place by your cities to support young people to be able to face better the upcoming economic, financial, and labor crisis? So if any of you want to start, you can just jump in. So we see our first responder. Remind you to put on your mic, and the others can just jump in whenever they want. So I encourage others also. This is not a one-on-one question, but it's a discussion between the 5 cities. So please do just jump in.
Yeah, I can start. Okay, really interesting question. Having in mind that Greece is a country that managed to go out from the financial crisis officially 2 years ago, the coronavirus and the pandemic and the lockdown and all these things reminds to a lot of people, and especially we're talking about young people, reminds exactly this economic crisis period. As you probably understand, yes, the youngsters were, let's say, the first victims again from this lockdown. A lot of jobs disappeared from the market in zero time. It was also a lot of jobs that transform into web-based, working from home or e-services or whatever. So we afraid that in a city level, but also in a country level, we are going to have a new round of increasing of youth unemployment. We are waiting to see the official statistics in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But the general feeling is that yes, even the reopening of the market is not enough to return back to the situation that the economy in a local and also national level was the period before the pandemic. Thank you.
Do any of the other cities have anything to add on this point? I see yes.
Well, I believe that it is very important, to guarantee that financial stability for organizations, for NGOs, for public sector that is which depends on public money, and if we take care of them, they are able to survive, and it is possible also to create some national and local financial measures for small businesses to continue providing social and private work. So I think that the most important thing is not to cut financing, but to invest into those measures and try to get back as soon as possible. Thank you.
About Tirana, what we've tried to do during these times, first of all, we have decided not to cut the budget of the Directory of Youth at the municipality of Tirana, and because we've seen that many cities, and we've heard that many cities in Albania, but not only, have reallocated their budget. So more budget goes to issues correlated to coronavirus, but for us, it has been very important to keep that budget untouched and not to reallocate the budget. So whatever budget was planned to go for youth organizations, for youngsters in Tirana, will still go to youngsters. And other than that, for many projects that we have, that we offer a possibility to cooperate between the municipality of Tirana and youth organizations, we've decided that these projects will continue to have to have youth priorities and to help youth to feel better after the pandemic and to be financially stable, because it's very important, and to support them to grow even after COVID-19.
So thank you very much to all the cities which actually gave an answer to that question. One other question from my end, and then hopefully we can go to your own question. And I remind you that if anyone has any question for any of the presenters and to the city, please do write them down in the chat. And after they answer this question, we'll be able to go to your questions. And reminder, your questions can either be generic to all of them or to any specific city which has participated. So again, this question is for all the participating cities. So, in your experience as European Youth Capital, or preparing to be European Youth Capital, you have implemented a lot of youth-friendly measures. What would you recommend to other cities which measures were taken to help and support young people in the community were successful? And what would you advise other cities to avoid from what you have learned from your own experience? So, any of you can just jump in and answer the question.
Okay, I can start again. Yes, the conditions are difficult, but I will encourage every city in Europe to invest and develop on youth, to create structures, to follow the guidelines from the European Youth Strategy, the national youth strategy plans, and all the things, to establish a local and support a local youth ecosystem, and of course to create all the necessary partnerships and agreements with the civil society, youth organizations in local level, and yes, to apply for the title of the European Youth Capital. So the idea behind is to see all these difficulties that they are in front of us as the opportunities, let's say, for the next phase of the youth policy in local level. to discuss with the stakeholders and to try to find a balance in between what are the targets and the dreams and the visions of the young people in local level, the youth, civil society organizations, and how to include all this in the master plan of the municipality in local level. One of the key tools is the European Youth Capital title, of course, the mobility programs of the European Union, the Council of Europe agenda and framework, and of course, this international cooperation for exchange of good practices from city to city. Thank you.
Yes, for Amiens, we encourage the other municipality to continue the financial support, a psychological support, because as I said before, a lot of young people were very alone and very stressed by the situation, and I think it's keep on during this time for a long time, and to do consultation, coaching consultation about employability and for the need people, because they need more support to find their way during these times.
So, is there any other city which would like to answer or give contribution to that answer? So, if not, we will now proceed to reading out some comments which you have left within the chat box. Give me a second. So, I will read out 2 comments first, and then there's a question. So first, there was a comment from Kieran McCarthy, who's from the European Committee of the Regions, who said, "It's great to see the depth of volunteerism in the slideshows and videos. In my city of Cork, Ireland, young people became part of frontline community response teams who came to people's aid, but not just delivering food, but offering a smiling face, a listening ear, and ultimately offering hope in difficult times. Thanks to everyone for their important work." I think these are experiences which we all lived for the first time, and I think we have seen that young people, for the most, have been very willing to be at the front line of actually providing help to other people. There was, I'm being told, we have a question which will be put up. Excuse me for a second. So we have a question from Andras Parkas, who, excuse me if the pronunciation was not right, who said, "We are conducting a Happy City survey in 8 youth capitals. Some first inputs after the first 6,000 answers are that overall subjective feeling of well-being, the feeling of happiness fell by over 25% overall, so 7.4 to 4.7 on a scale of 1 to 10. I see a mental health crisis emerging with a 5 to 10 year impact. Did cities you manage to initiate any initiatives on this on a short term, so in the last 3 months? So would any of the youth capitals who are with us like to answer this question?
Yes, I can share something replying to Andras Farkas, which is from Cluj-Napoca, Romania, also an European Youth Capital City, and connected also with the comment of my colleague and friend Olya, who said to the chart that the municipality of Thessaloniki and the community enterprise of the municipality of Thessaloniki are trying to encourage and to ask to participate, especially kids and very young people, because it was very, very problematic at the time of the lockdown. What to do with the kids, what to do with the young people that they don't have the right, let's say, to go out. Yes, there was some phenomenon of mental crisis and all these things. Activities, web-based activities, open activities now from the municipality is the result and the proposal for this target group in order to minimize, let's say, the symptoms of this lockdown. It's not easy. It's the starting, hopefully, and we are very happy and lucky because of the weather down here in the Mediterranean, and that's why all these events are supported by tens and hundreds of citizens who are coming out to, let's say, to participate and to be in a different, let's say, environment than their home and TV and whatever. Thank you.
Hi, I hope you can hear us. So in terms of the question, we've been working at the National Youth Congress. We have a lot of NGOs that are health related, and their focus is into health and well-being of youngsters. And this is why we've been working closely with them to provide advice and also to study how the situation is influencing the mental health of many youngsters. And this is also why we've been applying to also projects since there are a lot of financial problems with many organizations in the youth sector. We've also been trying to make partnerships to apply to projects that are part of the municipality, and their focus is on training youngsters to overcome their mental health and also to be more talkative and to live along the stigma of the mentality in the culture, and to be more talkative of the issues that they are facing, and to provide solutions to their well-being, not just physically but also mentally, which is a key factor of good functioning, not only of youngsters throughout the country but also the society in general.
Okay, among all the requests and communications immediately received from youngsters, what we understood was that one of the main reasons why youngsters were not feeling very good and what they wanted to change in the next months was the fact that they were staying inside their houses, because in Albania, at least in Tirana, since it was even pointed from the government, from the executive government, as a city that was a red zone and people could not go out for more than 2 months, and only people that used to go to work could go out. So youngsters or people that were frequenting universities were all day at home, and they miss their friends, they miss their activities that they used to do outside every day. And in all the requests, there was like, when can we go out? Can we go out now? Can we keep living as we used to do before? It's difficult, but we're trying to support them so they feel better and they start doing their normal life activities or what they used to do before, but keeping in mind the social distancing and all the other components. And other than these things that are being done, so in short term, the feeling that youngsters have and the fact that they're not feeling that happy about their life and their situation at the moment goes away. We've also thought and discussed many times with the youth organizations and with the National Youth Congress that in our program we had already planned for 2022 a theme that was eco-health, where was included the environment, the health, and mainly the main health, the mental health, not health as like something that you don't go to the hospital and you feel better physically, but mentally. And we have decided in our discussions, in our common discussions, that this will be one of the most important thematics in our programs in 2022, and we'll make sure that this program will have more resources and more budget will go to this program. So overall, not in the short term, but even in the long term, will make sure that youngsters are feeling better overall in their situation.
So is there any other of the cities which, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay. Just short, yes, the question of mental health just emerged in first few days during the COVID crisis here in Novi Sad, and we were thinking about, okay, this is something that we are missing. So as I mentioned earlier, we have around 15 organizations that mapped their resources, how they can be supportive to this to this COVID crisis, and how they can be supportive to young people. So just like I believe every city, we have organizations that are working on mental health and support to young people. So we created some kind of small kind of survey, and we asked all of our volunteers from our database, do they need any support regarding to mental health? Do they need somebody to speak with them? Do they need maybe some phone call or communication during this period? And after that survey, we created a small system because like Organization Open, we don't have such resources. So when we mapped the young people that are in need for such kind of support, we spoke with our partners and we give that support and that possibility to speak with organization professionals who are working every day on that topic. That is something that actually Novi Sad Voluntary Service this year is supposed to be the year where we wanted to develop some kind of manual for volunteering in emergency state, theoretically, but now we have good practice. That mental health is one of the topics that is really important, and we are going to create much more, analyze how to be supportive to young people and how to, not only on young people, but in general. So that's one of the really important thing, and we are going to work with that. I'm happy to ask Andras later maybe to manage and to cooperate on this question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for everyone for the answers. If there is any other person who would like to ask a question to any of the participants, please do so now. If not, we will proceed to one final question from our side. All right, so a question from us to all cities, and this is the final question, so if all the cities could maybe answer, it would be good, is that, so now that some of you have already been youth capital, some of you will be or currently or will be, and with everything that's happening around us, what is your wish for the future when it comes to the interaction of your municipalities with the young people who are living there, and how do you wish that with everything that is going on, you improve the lives of the young people who are living in your cities? Anyone?
Me? Okay. I have the feeling that that the next period will be really interesting in the city of Thessaloniki, dealing with young people and youth NGOs and in general the youth civil society ecosystem. There are some very big appointments in between the municipality, the young people, and the things that they are coming, and they are really good. It's slowly the starting of the open events period. we believe that we are not going to have any problems on that. Based on the program of the Greek chairmanship on the Council of Europe, there are some youth events that youth NGO activists can participate, and the agenda of the Council of Europe will start to discuss in the youth level here in a local level. It's also some really interesting initiatives coming from the municipality, putting volunteerism as a cross-sectorial priority, and activate the Department for Volunteerism and the Vice Mayor on Volunteerism responsible for all the activities of the municipality on volunteerism. Imagine that with a list of more than 3,000 organized volunteers, the municipality of Thessaloniki has the half of them are young people. So it's a really interesting dynamic in cooperation with the civil society organizations in local level. So volunteerism, international activities, plus the open air activities, that will be more or less the agenda until September, October. That means the summer period. Thank you.
Thank you, Babis, for explaining the wish of Thessaloniki for the future. So if I may now ask Volisa from Novi Sad the same question, what is the wish from your side for the future for young people in your city?
Okay, yeah. Be active, be involved, participate, and that's the source of being connected to local community. That is the source of being connected to European Youth Capital. This is the source of sense that you're the part of the city and the city is yours, and vice versa. So volunteering is a good way, good instrument, as far as we see it in Novi Sad, and that's something that I always say, try to be active, and things are changing then in a good way.
Thank you very much. I will now ask the same question to the rest of the city. So Celine, Amiens, what is your wish for the youth in your city for the future?
So our wishes in Amiens, it's for this year sharing at smaller scale, sharing our program, event program with our colleagues with European young people, because Amiens wanted to share a lot of things during this year, so we will share the next month. And for at the local level, for the young people of Amiens, we want to implement and adapt more and more with this crisis, all our action, all our program, and to be more there for them again, and that the young people are more involved in different process in the municipality, in social field, sharing more between young people, but between all the citizens of Amiens.
Thank you very much, Celine, for your answer. So, Davidas, the same question for Klaipeda. What do you wish for the future of your city and young people in it?
Well, as you know, we are becoming the next European Youth Capital. So I really hope that we will improve the participation of young people. I really hope that the interest in volunteering will grow, and I really hope that the feeling that young people can create their own city will improve. And the most important thing is that the young people would feel that they are a part and they are of their city and they are the creators of their city. So I really hope that by those measurements that we created in our European Youth Capital will help to do this. So this is the biggest wish. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Tirana, what is the wish for your city and the young people within it for the future?
Well, since Tirana has more than half of its population, like half of the Tirana's inhabitants and citizens are youngsters, we're trying to make them the main force, that shapes the city, the economy of the city, and everything else in the city. And what we want to do for the future, and what we're implementing in the last years and even now, has been to offer youngsters a municipality that it's not just the government for them, that it doesn't have closed doors for youngsters, but it's there as a support system, it's there as a partner, and youngsters can come to us and give us ideas or whatever thing that they want to implement, and we're there to support them. This is the main thing that we want to achieve, and to help them with everything they might need.
And also as a short-term goal, we're looking forward to having youngsters more prepared and more educated towards medical issues. And this is also something that we've been working on. And we all want youngsters to have better access at online platforms with devices and connections. We want youngsters to have more opportunities and to have equal access to different institutions or platforms, and to be more empowered to influence the decision-making process. We want youngsters to have better access in the labor market, and we want them to be part of more mobility programs, to learn from other youngsters and to share stories, to be part of those peer-to-peer educational methods, the innovative trainings. And as I said, we want them to be more empowered to seek what they've been missing from, and this is also something we've been seeing lately with protests. Even though it's this coronavirus times, some protests and some empowerment has been happening throughout the society on seeking better women's rights and a better educational system and all these things that we've been talking about.
As our slogan for Tirana 2022, we want youngsters to be active in the life of the city and to raise their voice for every issue that concerns to them, because it's really important, and only by raising their voice, only by reaching to the people that can help them, everything will be improved and they can solve their issues and their problems.
So that was the last question from our side too. So we will be concluding this event. Some final words. First of all, as I said in the beginning, a reminder that the event is being recorded and it will be shared on our social media channels after the event. I hope that you have enjoyed this event, and if you have enjoyed it, please do share it also with your contacts. So those people who were not available to join us via Click Meeting today would be able to see the event even later on. I would like to give a special thanks to the 5 cities which joined the event today. Especially thanks go to Klaipeda for being the people who had the idea of having this event and coordinating the organization of the event with us. Thank you, of course, to everyone who has joined and has attended the event here. From my side, I would have to thank 2 people from the Youth Forum side. Ivan, who is our new project officer, responsible for the European Youth Capital title for preparation of this event and the coordination with the cities, and Ivana, who is our senior membership and capacity building officer, who also doubles for us as a Click Meeting expert and who helps us on the technical issues on Click Meeting whenever we need any help for any such events. So thank you to both Ivan and Ivana from my side for the help you gave me also for the event. And thank you to everyone.
Of you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It was really nice. Thanks all the colleagues and all the friends around Europe. Hope to see you soon in an event, probably in Amiens. Huh? Celine, bye.
I hope.
All the best.
All the best. Bye-bye.
And remember to stay separated but united.